we're back with 843 TV, and I'm still with Julie Kuhns, who is the CEO of Osprey Village, and we're having a great conversation about all the interesting things that are going on, breaking ground soon, the sponsorships, donations, the golf tournament, thrift shop booming. But, you know, in all the conversations, I do want to talk to you about this before, you know, during the show, is that enrollment. I mean, there's a lot of families out there who are in need of this sort of a program for their adult children. And how does somebody go about this?
They spend half of their evenings researching it. This is such a need from coast to coast that the moment your child is diagnosed with a developmental disability, it changes the game on the way you think in terms of longevity. And so from early ages, parents are researching what are going to be the options when they're adults. What are the options when I'm no longer able to care for them? And so we get outreach to our website and we have our phone number daily. I am constantly talking with families, and these are lengthy discussions. So for our process, a family outreaches us. We advertise in very generalized ways, but we don't sift through the population and call and reach out to them on a cold call. They reach out to us. They say, we've heard about what you're doing. When are you opening, and how do I get on the list, which is always the big question. And so about 4 months ago, we started really getting serious about having a home ownership program. In other words, families can purchase condos or homes within the community, and we were not certain how that would go over. And it has gone over far better than I think we expected. So we have families that are calling in and they're saying, okay, if this is an option for us, what do we need to do to make this go? And the first thing we do, obviously, is collect information. Well, what are the resources available to your child in terms of supports? What is your timeline? Not all these people are residing in South Carolina. What is your timeline to be here? This is what our timeline is for building and when there's opportunities available. This fall, we're going to be, and the list is ongoing, so we have people that are constantly calling, and we're always taking these names. But this fall, we're going to be circling back around to families to get their commitments, that they're going to start looking for what their financial opportunities are going to be to purchase these homes. And throughout that process, it can get really tricky for them. They have a child that relies on Social Security, which has limitations on what they can own and not own. They have a child who usually gets Medicaid, also has limitations on what they can own and not own. Trust funds that are involved. So it's not as simple as when somebody says, oh, I'm going to go buy a home and I'm going to go use this funding source and boom, I'm good to go. These are individuals who have to look at, okay, who's paying for it? Is that going to fit within the specifications of the supported services that they're getting from state funding? And if they have a trust fund, what's the longevity in the trust fund for paying over time? So we've been working with various lenders in our community so that they understand how to work with these families. And we've been working with the families to understand how to make their Social Security and their Medicaid and their trust funds all work for the benefit of their loved one. So it's different for each family, so it's kind of hard to get into too much detail on that. But that's basically our process. And then naturally, we also have a rental program, and we're collecting information for individuals who are interested in that. And again, they can go to the website and they can just sign up for information, and we would give them a call. It usually takes us about a week to get a hold of them. I'm just sitting here listening to all the details, and it's planning, there's details involved, and you're talking about the federal support that each person has and how will it go towards their living in the community. I mean, it's a lot of details. It's a lot of minutia details that you have to understand, and I think it's great that you guys you can counsel families through that. I mean, before we even went on camera, we talked about how other locations are looking at Osprey as a footprint for their potential development in other places, because, it's always the first one. The founder always takes the hardest, figuring out all the pieces, and once you get your pieces together, then, you can share and say, okay, this is the model that's working for us, correct? Correct. But do you feel like you have your model down now? Do you feel like it's in place, so when somebody says, okay, in 3 years I'm looking, or maybe 4 years, however everything gets developed, or
built, you're ready for that person.
Yeah, so our model, the biggest crux to the model was the financial structure. How was that going to operate financially? And we had to spend about a year really looking at how do we make that sustainable without having to raise millions of dollars every year. And we did we pulled together how those resources will fit together in order for us to be able to sustain it ongoing. And that's fantastic. But the good thing about our model is it's not a black and white thing. So it has to be flexible. We have to be able to change and ebb and flow, as you had said, as the culture changes, as the environment changes. And because we are now getting so much outreach from other communities saying, hey, we're seeing what you're doing. We've got money from, the federal government, some of the relief funds that went through ARPA. We've got land. How are you doing this? We have a model that they can take and compare it to their community and say, well, we need to adjust this because in this community where we live, it may not work quite the same. We have to spend a lot of time and effort when it comes to things like hurricane safety and things like that say in Wisconsin you wouldn't have to do.
Right. Exactly.
Or in Wisconsin they have to have particular heating and cooling, whereas we have a different type of heating and cooling.
But these are all really important things that you're sharing with us. I've so much enjoyed talking to you too, Julie. So before we go, I just want to say if you want to support Osprey Village, a few things you can do. Go to the thrift shop, lots of good things.
Yeah.
Upcoming golf tournament in November. Get a team together and have a great time. And Julie, it's always lovely to see you.
Thank you, you too.
And thank you for joining us at 843 TV. This is where communities come to speak.